Hey everyone, Anime Echoes here. I just wanted to have like a general discussion about, just kind of certain revelations that I've had throughout. Yeah, just like one thing that I've been doing, I'm just gonna get right into it, has been just, I have this like Word document, and as I watch like TV shows or as I read manga or as I, just anything, any form of entertainment, like when a certain episode like stands out to me, I just jot it down and then I give it like one sentence about like what stood out to me, like what really like drew me in. And I've just been doing that, and I've been doing this for like maybe like a year now. Like I haven't watched too many things because I've just been busy and stuff. But this process of like identifying like specific episodes or specific chapters has been something that's like super fun. Like previously I used to do that kind of stuff in terms of like just making like a top 10 list of like this was my favorite season or this was my favorite chapters of the year, just things like that. But recently I've just been doing it for everything, and it's not like this tedious task, it's not like this. Like I'll give an example. So for example, I was watching like BoJack Horseman, and the seventh episode of the first season really stood out to me. It's about Princess Caroline, like her character. And yeah, and that's basically what I wrote. I just wrote like BoJack episode 7, Princess Caroline, and then I wrote in quotes like congratulations, you're 40. Like that's like just like a little scene that like stands out. It's like one of the end points of the episode. So just like little stuff like that. And I put that in my Word document like ages ago. It's been like that was one of the first things I put down, and it's been like a year or so. And I look back at that, and I think like 3 months ago I had this like urge to watch something, and then I would put up this Word document, and then I just jumped to that episode, and it felt right. Like I felt like fully immersed. Like I was really watching something that was like a personal favorite of mine. And I don't know, the reason why I want to illustrate this idea, I guess, is that one thing I always did was like I would watch things more chronologically, if that makes sense. Like I would be like, okay, like, I'm gonna rewatch BoJack Horseman, so I'm gonna start off with season 1 and go all the way to season 7. And this is like rewatches, so not like watching like a new show. Obviously, you have to watch that chronologically so that everything makes sense. Like you don't know what the hell's going on, right? But this is like more for things where you've already watched it. So I had already watched this show, and I was like, and I wanted to get like a feel for that show again. Like I wanted to be in that world. Like that's something I've found out about my personality. I want to just be immersed in certain worlds for like a certain period of time, and then that world I want to get out of, and then I want to be in like another world. I'm also making my own stories these days, and sometimes I just want to be in my own kind of world that I've made. Yeah, I just have like this personality that wants to like jump into different worlds. But the way I did it constantly before was just watching like season by season, or never really just jumping into my favorite episodes, because I never really had like a document showcasing what they were. Like I couldn't really remember them. Like I remember the scenes, like the specific scenes that would like stand out to me, but I hadn't like written like this specific episode is the thing that really captured you. So once I started doing this, and now I have like this huge, list of shows and stuff, I've noticed that like, at least for myself, there are moments where I want to, just kind of tiptoe into that world, experience it for a little bit, and then tiptoe out. And this is where the Word doc really helps. It feels kind of inspirational, especially for like my own stories that I'm writing. I'm kind of just like in this mood to go into this world, to explore this specific episode which specifically resonated with me. There's gonna be something about that episode that eventually influences me and like the story that I'm writing. Not necessarily in like really concrete ways, just more like a feeling. It's like a feeling that I kind of enter into, and that really ends up like helping me when I'm like kind of writing my own stuff and I'm like drawing my own art. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of like a thing that grounds me. It's like something from the past that I really treasure, that I really experienced, that I really value. But instead of just having it as like a memory, I have it written down, and now I can just access it whenever I want in like an easy way. Like before it was kind of like a bit more difficult. Like I would be rewatching like the season or something, and I'll be like looking forward to that episode to come up. But for whatever reason, my brain was like, nah, you can't just like jump there. And it's like, nah, I could always have just jumped there. I obviously know what's going to happen. And this isn't to say that I don't have like periods where I, just rewatch the whole show from like the start. Like I absolutely do that. Like I still do what I did before. It's just now that I'm becoming like more present in the way that I'm, watching things and I'm consuming things, and I'm, very intentional in how I do it. Instead of adapting myself to like the way the show should be committed to, on my rewatches, like I am kind of choosing on my own how I engage with shows. Like another example was like Castlevania. Like I don't think I'm like one of the biggest fans of that show, like for whatever reason, like it doesn't really align with me, but I really like Camilla, like that character. She has like white hair. She's like one of the vampires and stuff, and especially like the fourth season stuff to do with her, I just really enjoy. So, and it's just like the first 5 episodes of the fourth season, and yeah, like I mean there's like other scenes in there, but I just wanted to be in like that specific plot. So what I just did was I just watched those scenes that apply to that specific plot, and then I was able to just kind of have this experience of just watching like Camilla's plot start and kind of end. And that was just like a fun experience to have, and like I felt like that was like more entertaining. Like if I just followed like the normal route of just like starting that season and watching like the whole thing, I think I would have enjoyed it less, because there is a more subjective part of me, like a real internal part of me that just wants to be like in a world where it's just like, Camilla's character acting out and her whole story playing out. Then there's the other stuff that, while I might have really enjoyed on like the first rewatch, I mean for the first watch, I don't necessarily want to like fully engage with that in that moment. And one of the amazing things about just, being very particular and being like very specific is that it gives you like permission to be the decider in how you experience things. And then through that, you really get to learn a lot about what your specific tastes are. Like one's tastes aren't just, I don't know, like it's not just like this thing where it's like, I like this show and this show is a reflection of my tastes. Like, I'm not saying that's not a reflection of your taste, but that's just very like surface level in comparison to like what your real tastes are. Like the fact that I, enjoyed, the Camilla parts within Castlevania, like is an indication of what my specific tastes are. What was it? The character design? Was it the like the way the plot was made? Like what really drew me in? And then you get to like piece things out. You get to be like, oh, it was this specific thing that drew me in. It was the way this scene was done, and you get even more specific. And after a little bit, you start seeing like patterns, like real patterns between like what you truly enjoy and what you just kind of enjoy, And this is kind of like an exploration of your own personal subjectivity, and it's like there is a real consistency that exists. Like your body or your eyes or whatever has like a way it wants to experience media. And what that means is you're not necessarily supposed to consume like every bit of media that's out there. Absolutely not, like not even close. You're not supposed to consume everything that's popular. You're not supposed to consume everything. Like what you're supposed to consume, and once you meet it, there is kind of like this almost transcendent experience where you just forget that you're watching something and you're like fully immersed in it. And you're also learning a lot about yourself and like what you really value, in a story. And all of that, especially if you're making your own story, like all of that is like such, nutritious stuff that you need to like funnel into that, because that's essentially how you make your stories. Like they really are like a crux of like everything you value, like kind of in the world. Like you're putting all of that, like all of you into that. And so I found this method to be like a gateway to really kind of understand like what I really, really like, what I really, really value, to like almost like a needle point. Oh, like if it doesn't have this kind of background, like even like background art, like that's something I've been exploring like recently. Like background art has a huge effect on me. If I don't like the background art, like my mind or my eyes go like gross. Like I don't want to look at this, and I've just been like allowing that to be like a real like phenomenon that's occurring, instead of being like, oh, I guess it's okay. Just like, I think it's good to be like, oh, this is okay, or I can get through this. If you're really trying to, like, it depends on what your purpose is, right? Like if your purpose is to just kind of get through something and not really explore yourself in relationship to it, then yeah, sure, just, be open, I guess. But if if your purpose is to like understand yourself and to like kind of see like what your body is naturally responding to, like if that's your purpose, then this is like, I feel like an excellent way to just find those things out, to just get really specific about what you're looking for and what you're responding to. And the cool thing is, it's like not separate from your joy and your like, it's not entertaining. Like, it's like incredibly pleasurable, which is what's awesome. Like, you're essentially like looking at what activates you, which means the whole process is going to be like super fun. Like, there is like not even like a moment that's like boring about it. Like, you're just basically looking at things and being like, wow, like this character has like, I don't know, like red eyes. Like, I like characters that have like red eyes. I was like, this character has red eyes. Like, that's cool. For whatever reason, that drew me in. And part of this process is like, there is a difficult part to this process, but it's not like the boring issue. It's more like, you might look at something that you loved before, and now, because your standards for like what you like and dislike are more specific, you might see that that thing that you loved doesn't really hit as hard anymore. So there is a kind of like mourning process that might also come along with this. Like, you have to kind of actually look at the things that you care about and realize, wow, there was actually more that I could have experienced, like in a way that was like higher and greater, and that my tastes are actually far more specific. And despite all these, like childhood memories or like whatever that you have in relationship to this thing that you really cared about, this show that you really cared about, that ultimately, you were kind of just watching it and you weren't like fully present for it. And that's kind of like a sad realization, I would say. It doesn't mean you have to like neglect your personal feelings about like this thing that you cared about and loved. It's just really like an invitation to like explore more and to really kind of discover yourself more. And just part of that process is that it's going to evoke feelings of, damn, like this thing that I cared about before, it's just not hitting the same. It's not even like that statement of like, this isn't as good as I thought it was. It's more like, oh, this wasn't actually for me. Now, most likely your favorite, like, that's probably going to be for you. Like, you'll probably figure that out. Like, your favorites are an indication, but I'm talking about like something you like quite a bit, but you're like, oh, I guess it's just not for me anymore, And hey, it could end up being one of your favorites, so it might be like a pretty, intense experience. But I feel like the positives of this really just outweigh the negatives. Like, you can really go so far with discovering your own tastes that you end up going to like these like niche rabbit holes where you find like these series that like no one's talking about, no one even cares about, but for whatever reason, there's kind of like this feeling of like, I was meant to find this thing. Like, I explored, I followed the path of what I was activated by, like just on an aesthetic level, on a writing level. It could be literally like how the speech bubbles in like a comic are allocated. Like, for myself, I've noticed that if there's too much text in relation to just one panel, I don't really like that. But if the panels are like split up, and then you have like a text bubble in each, I'm, for whatever reason, really drawn to that. And I found that a lot of European comics have that kind of feel to it. So I've been exploring a lot of European comics and getting into that. But I found with a lot of American comics, they'll have like kind of a big page, and the big page looks nice, but there's like a lot of dialogue bubbles on that big page. And for whatever reason, that takes me out. Now, once again, it's not about like justifying whether that's like good taste or not. It's kind of like you're pulling on a thread and you just want to see where that thread takes you. And I do think like part of pulling on this thread is that it will kind of isolate you, like you'll be able to see like what your needs really are, when it comes to like watching something or when it comes to experiencing something. Like, if the idea or the prospect of like going into like something niche where like even like 0 people are talking about it, like 0. I'm not talking about like some niche thing where you have like a Reddit thread and at the very least you can like post something and some people will engage. Like, I found some things that I like truly love and I have like no one, like not even anyone online to like talk about it with. And like, it's very rare. Like, it's like very, very rare. And, you know, I've found that I'm actually very okay with that. Like, I truly kind of value just like the experience of like just sitting with entertainment and having that just be an experience with myself. But like, for example, you know, if you're someone who really enjoys like the weekly chatter or something, you know, with like a lot of Shonen Jump chapters coming out, you know, it's like you have a weekly, so every week you can like have a conversation with someone online about it, and or just see what people think, and that general discourse is like taking you through. And if that's like a real prerequisite for you, I'm not trying to like diss that in any way. I'm saying is like, you know, it's just good to know that, right? And then part of like a way to discover that is to really kind of just keep following your taste like to its extreme, you know, like keep self-discovering, and you'll find like you'll eventually probably experience something where it's like, you know, I watched this thing and I really enjoyed it, but I don't have anyone to talk to about this thing. And that's like a real like sorrowful experience, and that's like really important information about your own needs. Well, for me, it wasn't that kind of experience. I mean, there was some sadness to it, but it didn't really like hit me that hard. So I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I think I'm supposed to kind of engage with these, you know, literally just like scour the internet and just to like find these like kind of nuggets, and not necessarily have to connect with anyone about it, because there are heaps of shows that, you know, I like, and heaps of people like it as well. So if I really want to have that kind of social connection in regards to like TV shows or comics or whatever, I can just engage with those things. And I do understand like the, you know, the sorrowful feeling of like, damn, like, you know, no one gives a shit about like the thing that I give a shit about. Like, I get that feeling, I really do. But I think the solution to that is just to bring it up. Like, just bring it up. Like, bring it up, like, even with like people who, you know, you're like, well, we're talking about, I don't know, what's something that's popular, like One Piece or something. Like, you're talking about One Piece or Haikyuu or, you know, just anything on the Shonen Jump thing. And it's like, yeah, and then just be like, hey, by the way, I've just been like reading this thing, and just like talk about it for like a minute and just see. And it's not about getting the other person on your side. It's just, you're just gonna showcase like what you like as part of that conversation. Like, why would you not do that? Like, the whole point is when you're having a conversation with someone, you know, this is more like in real life, I guess, maybe like online, it's kind of like, why are you talking about something that, like, this is like a One Piece forum, why would you talk about something else? Like, that doesn't really make sense. But if it's like a Discord conversation, or like a conversation with like a friend in like real life, and, you know, you guys have always been just talking about just like the same stuff, or like, you know, things that are kind of more recognizable, and then you find this like golden nugget, but you're like, I'm not sure if this person would actually give a shit about it, and they probably don't actually give a shit about it. But the point isn't that, you know, whether they give a shit or not. The point is just to like kind of, you know, engage with it and put it out there anyway, because, well, when you're having a conversation with someone, you want them to connect with the real you, right? Like, you want them to engage with the you that matters. And if part of, you know, you is this thing that you found and you feel like it's very precious to you, then you might as well just put it out anyway, even if you don't get the response you want. Because at the very least, you know, you guys are connecting authentically. Like, even if the authentic response from that other person is, okay, cool, but like moving on, like, that's still authentic on their end, and you're still connecting authentically. Like, this, all I'm trying to say is like, there is like something that you can do, and that's something that I've been doing like in my life, where I'll just bring it up and I'll be like, you know, this is what I care about, so I'm just going to talk about it, and you can talk about your stuff, and, you know, there's gonna be stuff that you talk about that I probably won't care about, but we can like meet in the middle in a way where it's like, you know, I might not care about it, but I will value the fact that you value it, and through that we can connect, you know? Like, I think when, you know, trying to connect with people, like, the most important thing, like, isn't necessarily like do we, you know, we don't have to like make our differences the same. We can be different people and then connect authentically. And I'm not saying like we can't connect with someone we have like nothing in common with, you know, like, because that's just not gonna work, right? But generally, if you have like the love of, you know, experiencing creativity, and they also love that to a certain degree, like, that'll be enough overlap to at least have some sort of conversation that works. I'm not necessarily saying that, like, you know, that's gonna lead to like some amazing friendship or something, but like, I'm just talking about like the social need of like having someone to talk to about something you care about. I'm not necessarily talking about like whether that means that, you know, they would be a good friend or not. You know, I'm just talking about like getting that social need met. Because I think like whether someone's like a good friend or a close friend is a completely different discussion. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but I mean, it kind of wasn't. You know, like I feel like all these things are connected to the experience of like engaging with some sort of creative something. You know, like we don't live in a vacuum; we live with other people. So I think it's, you know, important to always address like the social part of it as well. But yeah, like just going back to, you know, the previous portion of it, which was, yeah, like just having this like Word doc just with lists of like things that I can kind of go back to, which really, I mean, it really just does ground me. It really puts me in this like place where I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to experience in this moment. This is the world I want to experience, and this is how I want to experience the world, right? Like this specific episode, this specific chapter, this specific blah blah blah. And it's just like a great way to just either feel inspired, or it's a great way to just learn so much about yourself. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, just little things. Like after you just start listing stuff, you're like, oh, cool. Like I love backstory episodes. Like I was going through like my Haikyuu episode list, and one of the things that I just really loved was like the Mia twins backstory, the Tendo slash Ushijima episode. So that's season 3, episode 7. That episode, even like the Nekoma versus like, I don't know, I think they're called Sarukawa or something. Like in season 4, like that episode, because he had like Kenma's backstory. I like that. I've noticed I just really love backstories, or like backstories in the way that Furodate does it. So it's, you know, it's just learning those things just help like so much, and then you can just be like, okay, that's now the standard, so let me go find something that reflects that, because for whatever reason I'm drawn to that. And if I'm drawn to that, then if something else has something like that, let me go find that. One of one of the most recent ones I've been rewatching, and this is more of like a complete rewatch, so not necessarily like specific episodes I'm jumping into. I'm rewatching the whole series, and that was that's Mightiest Heroes, you know, the Marvel thing, and it just popped into my mind, and then I just had this feeling of like, man, and I remember loving that show. Like I wonder if it holds up at all. And then I went and I started watching it, and you know, I have some problems with it, and you know, I feel like there's way too much action and stuff like that, but and obviously it's gonna be like that because it's made for like children in mind, you know. And I'm not one of those people who is like, oh, it's a, you know, animated stuff I like for kids, like, you know, blah blah. That's not what I'm saying, but it's more like when the target demographic for, you know, a certain industry is, you know, children, they do specific things in order for children to like them. So one of the things they do is they'll include like a crap ton of action so that the children are also engaged. And then, you know, they also, and I'm not trying to say like children, like, you know, like, or adolescent people are like dumb or anything, or like they just like blind action or whatever. You know, no, there's plenty of, you know, people who are younger who also love like story and characters and all that stuff. But the way it's advertised, right? The way it's advertised is in that way. So there ends up being like a necessity to have a certain amount of action. And I found this just way too just way too much. And I know it's a superhero show, so I think I know it's like kind of silly to be like, well, there's too much action. Why don't you just not watch a superhero show? Which is fair. I think that's a fair point. But you know, once again, I'm just kind of, you know, I'm watching this show and I'm kind of just exploring myself and seeing what I don't like, what I like. But the third episode with Bruce Banner and the fourth episode with Captain America, that actually had some decent like character exploration, and they kind of really went into it, and there was good like character interactions and stuff, where it wasn't just like some world-ending event. That there was, you know, there was still world-ending stuff, but it was just very unique and very mysterious and very ambitious in the way it did it. And even those world-ending stuff, like I just finished the first season, and that last arc, it was pretty good. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. And yeah, once again, I'm writing in that document like which specific episodes like stood out to me. And I found like in the first season, what is this? How many is this? So there's 1, 2, 3, like 1, 2, 3, like 3 episodes that I'm like, these are like great. Like I'm definitely gonna revisit these. And then I've made like a maybe one, and that has around like 6, I think. So what 6? But yeah, 6 plus 3, 9. 9 out of the 25 I found like potentially worth revisiting. So that's kind of like the stuff that I'm doing, and I don't know. It's like super nerdy and geeky, but I love it. I love making like this document with all the stuff, and just it really makes me feel like present with everything that I'm watching, and it makes me feel like I'm doing things very intentionally, and it's just really entertaining. Like it's just really fun. Like I do want to do this with Gintama, but it's such a it is long, and I mean I've already like watched it. I've rewatched many parts, but like yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it with it. Maybe not. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing this with everything, and just as I keep doing this, I know that I'm just gonna keep discovering more and more about myself, and like, and there are like moments of like tension where you're like, oh, I thought I defined myself as liking this thing based on this pattern that I saw between all these things that I liked, and then you'll find something that has that thing, and then you're like, I hate this, and it's like, oh, so there's always more to learn about yourself, where it's like you thought it was that thing, but now there's like something deeper. Like it wasn't just like the aesthetic alongside the plot, alongside this, alongside the emotional moment, blah blah blah, that there was actually something under that as well. Because when you get evidence of like a scene or something having all these things that you like, but you still don't like it, you're like, wait, like my view of myself and my view of my own experience with art and creativity is actually wrong. Like then I'm actually getting activated by something else, and that's like a cool thing to explore as well. So but like that can be like a moment of frustration as well, where you're like, oh damn, like I thought I had a correct view, and I now have to like let go of that and then see what's truly there. Especially if you get kind of attached to it, like especially for me, at least with aesthetic stuff. Like if I'm like, man, I really love like red eyes or something, and I find like a character where I'm like, damn, I didn't like that red-eyed character, that sucks, and it's not when it's like, oh, it's so very clear like that it's because the character wasn't written well or something. I mean when it's like kind of unclear, where I'm like, I have no idea why I don't like this character, and then I have to like kind of do this process of like uncovering why I think I don't like it. And yeah, I just found that there is a moment of like mourning, of like damn, I kind of wish I did. Now I don't, and now I have to explore why not. But then the exploration of why not is fun. It's just more that like that moment of like, damn, like who I thought I was, I wasn't. Like there's always something about like self-identity and self-image that always causes some level of grief, at least for me. Anyway, yeah, this is just what I wanted to talk about. Just my just the way in which I engage with any form of creative media. I find it really fun. I kind of wanted to put this out there just to see if like anyone else would be, I don't know, into doing something like this, because like, or maybe it might be helpful for other people. But really, if I'm going like deep down, it was just for myself. I wanted to kind of explore like my own inner workings in like a episode. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you stayed till the end. I'd be kind of surprised if you did stay till the end, but if you did, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening. Okay, goodbye and take care.